Hello and welcome to a brief video lecture that I've put together for you with some further thoughts on the assignment that we're working on, writing a review. Okay, one of my concerns as we're moving forward with this assignment is that we do want to try to target a specific online review site for publication, even though we're not actually publishing this. But I did link up several review sites in the content area of our D2L page, and so those are just some possibilities. You may know of some others, but targeting a specific review site is going to help us in a number of different ways. For instance, with our basic rhetorical situation, audience and purpose, we want, by targeting a specific review site, we will have more of a specific audience and purpose in mind, and especially in terms of audience. Frequently with a class writing assignment, you target your professor as the intended audience, and certainly ultimately I am, because I hold the grade book, and so I'm the one you got to kind of impress with this review. But one of the things that I'm impressed by is that you display some awareness of a particular audience. And sometimes that audience is a somewhat more informed audience. For instance, a couple of the sites that I linked up were like gamer sites. They had video game reviews on them. So the type of person who would wind up looking at a review on that type of site probably is a gamer themselves, and they know some things about gaming. And so I want you to imagine, talking directly to them through this particular online review site, and thinking about that audience as you're composing this. So we're not just writing a generic review that could be published here, there, or there, or there, or there, but we're trying to write a review for a particular review site. So, and that's going to determine a lot of things about audience in particular. So, okay, so along those lines, just asking you to think about this. What does your intended audience already know about your topic? And how much do you need to explain to your audience about your topic? So we're going to need some explanation, and frequently we deal with that in the background or bridge paragraph after the introduction. So no matter how informed the audience is, we kind of pause in that paragraph and explain some background, but we're not going to assume just generic public audience, because you'd have to explain a lot more that way. So think of your audience and what they already know. Also, in terms of purpose, what are some features of that site? As you look at that review site, what are some things that you notice that they do? And up till the rough draft stage, we're focusing primarily on the written text, but we need to also start thinking about some of these things that are maybe extra textual elements on a review site, and how we can incorporate some of those into our review. So keep that in mind. Also, I think we're at the point where we need to think really critically about the importance of genre. So genre is this funny looking French word, but basically it's the genus of this topic that you're working with, and so we need to define that genre as specifically as possible. So so let's say we're reviewing a movie. So this thing that you're reviewing does fall into this big, under this big umbrella of movies, and there's some things that make movies really good. But then we also have smaller and smaller umbrellas that we're working with, and that helps us to narrow down and focus the specific genre that we're working with. So with movies, we have, action adventure and Western and romantic comedy or just comedy. We have buddy films. We have all types dramas, all types of genres of movies. And with other things that we're reviewing, there are also genres. So for instance, if we're looking at Taco Bell as our topic, Taco Bell is a restaurant. So there are things that make restaurants good or bad in general. But Taco Bell is not a sit-down Mexican restaurant where they come bring you a bag or a basket of chips and a bowl of salsa, and that they wait on you and take your order and bring you something on a hot plate. Instead, at Taco Bell, you get things wrapped in paper and on a plastic tray, and you carry it to your table yourself. So we've got restaurant as maybe our biggest umbrella, and then we can go in a couple of different directions. We can go toward Mexican restaurant and some of the things that make those good, or we can go toward fast food restaurant and some of those things that make that good. Either way, we're going to come down to eventually a smaller umbrella that is Mexican fast food restaurant. So what are the characteristics that you would expect of a really good fast food Mexican restaurant? So we need to define our genre as specifically as possible. What are the characteristics of that genre? So just kind of talked a little bit about that. And that many of those characteristics often indicate possible criteria for evaluation of your topic. So it's really important to define the genre and the characteristics of that genre in order to evaluate something effectively. Okay. Some common pitfalls with this assignment. Occasionally, I see people make this a personal narrative essay. So basically, what kind of happens is that we have the introduction, and then we get into this background or bridge paragraph, and somehow that kind of expands and takes over the essay. And so I say at the bottom of this slide, don't get carried away with the background, overview, summary, description. So not only in terms of personal narrative, but occasionally I'll see people, let's say they're doing a movie review, and they get to that second paragraph where we have kind of the plot summary, and we need to keep that to about a paragraph. Basically, by the bottom of the first page or the top of the second page, we want to be going into the evaluation and analysis section of this essay. But I've seen a number of instances where people have gotten into the plot summary. Seems like it especially happens when someone's doing some type of a series like Netflix or something. There are several different seasons of it, and they want to explain everything that goes on. Well, that takes 3 or 4 pages, and we can't do that. We have to compartmentalize it to about a paragraph. And when it does expand to 3 or 4 pages, it seems like the writer realizes they've been going on for a while, and they think, oh, I need to do some evaluation here. And so I get about a paragraph of evaluation and then the conclusion. And so that's not really a review when you spend most of your time reading the plot summary. So same thing with personal narrative. Sometimes people do make this, they want to write from first person experience, and that just kind of takes over the entire paper. So I say right here that it's okay to say I in this essay to insert yourself into it, but make sure to keep the focus on your topic rather than on yourself. So it's kind of see where you're saying I in your essay. If you're saying it as part of the topic sentence for every paragraph, you're probably writing about yourself. So let's keep the focus on your topic rather than on you. And then I've noticed that frequently with a review essay, you may find that you're more likely to say you rather than I. So you might say, when you first walk into this restaurant, so I just got through saying when you first walk in, one of the things you'll notice is, and so it's okay to talk to your reader in an online review. It's perfectly natural. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, so I talked about things going on and taking over different parts of this essay and kind of losing control over it. And so wanted to talk about this important aspect of writing a review, your rhetorical stance. Your rhetorical stance is basically what you're trying to do. Overall, in an essay, you have a rhetorical stance, but in this particular essay, you have to adjust your rhetorical stance several times throughout. And so with the background bridge paragraph that comes after the introduction, we're trying to be objective and descriptive there. We're not being evaluative. So that's one rhetorical stance. But then we get into the evaluation and analysis section, and that's much more opinionated, and so that's a different rhetorical stance. Before the conclusion, we also have recommendations for improvement, and that's a different rhetorical stance. And even the intro and the conclusion kind of have a different rhetorical stance. So one of my favorite comments to make on this assignment is good control over what you are trying to accomplish in different parts of your essay. So if you can display some control over your rhetorical stance, then that would be excellent. So keep that in mind. Sometimes you have to stop before a new paragraph and think, what am I trying to accomplish here? What's my purpose? And proceed in that manner with your rhetorical stance. So I think those are about my comments at this point. Some further comments. I'm also going to give you a worksheet that I think will help as you work toward a rough draft on this, and I'll be talking to you soon about that. So that's all I've got for now. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you again soon.